Last handful of years, hack and slash games have seen a spike in popularity, most notably with a game called Warhaven, which most people I think that watch this channel have probably played because it tends to coincide with the things that we love most about games, at least in my end of the community anyway. But there are other hack and slash games like Mount & Blade Bannerlord, Chivalry, and the list goes on and on. Even Mortal Online or Mortal Online 2 could be added to that list given the sword mechanics and crossbows and whatnot. Most recently, there was a playtest that has been going on for the last couple of days for a game called Warhaven that is being created by Nexon, and specifically Nexon Korea. Now, Nexon is no, slouch, no stranger to the world of video games. They've been around for almost 30 years and are the studio that most famously has produced MapleStory. They're touted as being one of the 10 largest IP producers in the gaming world, but I digress. This video is about Warhaven and whether or not Warhaven looks like it's on the right track or whether or not Warhaven needs work. And for those of you wondering whether or not I think Warhaven is fun, maybe. Hey, yeah, so super fast wardrobe change, right? It's even possibly, who knows, a different time of day, I changed the weather outside. It's actually raining out right now. That's crazy. Anyway, I'm here to talk to you about today's sponsor because I got to pay the bills, and that is Surfshark. It's 2022. And at this point in time, we should be concerned about internet security, especially considering that our lives are pretty much on the internet at this point. And if somebody knows where to look, they can find out just about everything they would want to know about us. And something like a VPN, like Surfshark's VPN, can go an awful long way to safeguarding us in those instances. Surfshark utilizes what is known as IP masking, whereby simply clicking on Montreal, Canada, for instance, in moments we are connected to Canada. Just almost instantly, we are now masked, meaning that our IP address is shielded away from people so that they have to hit that IP address first. If somebody tried to search us, sniff us out, they would see Montreal, Canada, not wherever I'm currently located. Surfshark also offers other free tools like CleanWeb, where by just turning on this radio button, you can block ads, trackers, and other forms of malware tracking cookies that would otherwise, compromise your personal security. And Surfshark, rated one of the fastest and easiest to use VPNs, is also listed as one of the least expensive. If you use the link in the description below and use code ONEPEG on checkout, you will save 83% off of your purchase with an additional 3 months absolutely free. And if that isn't good enough, the license is unlimited. You can share it with as many people as you want on as many devices as you want. Surfshark has no limitation to that whatsoever. And with a 30-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee, you have absolutely nothing to lose. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think in the comments. And once again, I just want to say a very special thank you to the folks over at Surfshark for sponsoring me for yet another month. You guys are legends. Thank you. Warhaven is interesting. Rather than there being, an amalgamation of weapons and armor and whatnot that you would get in a game like Mordhau, where you could choose kind of what your loadout was going to be, hybridizing a whole lot of different angles and options, instead we have a set class system. And in this case, the class systems are broken out between people that can wield some type of healing magic, people that are more range-based, and people that are more melee-based. There are classes that are more tailored toward tanking, and then there are classes that are more tailored towards delivering, more DPS or being more of a bruiser. And in here, there are different styles of weapons. Short swords, long swords, shields, bows, crossbows, and even two-handed mauls. In my case, I wanted to use a guy that used a warhammer because we know that I love the bonkin hammer, and the weapons are a little bit interesting. In games like Mordhau or Chivalry, you have the ability to direct what kind of attack you're going to make. In other games, you don't necessarily have the option to be able to direct those attacks. And in a game like Dark and Darker, for instance, you have set attack animations. In a game like Warhaven, it's more of a hybridized approach between being able to direct a swing and something like Dark and Darker, where there's a set swing animation. See, if you left click, for instance, you would swing from your right shoulder. If you hold control and left click, then you would swing from your left shoulder. By adjusting the verticality of your mouse, you could change where that slash came from. And then depending on the weapon, you would have like a lunge attack or an overhead slash that you could do, or a smash in the case of the maul, that was dependent on which way you scrolled your mouse wheel. The controls in this case, because of this, did not feel like they were the most intuitive. And because a lot of this is being ported from Korean, a lot of the descriptions also seemed a little bit muddled, and in a lot of other cases, didn't didn't have any descriptions with them at all, which became more confusing as you learned about other mechanics in the game. See, every class has their own special abilities. You have the ability to like jump up in the air and smash the ground around you as the person with the Warhammer, for instance. And if you hit close enough to somebody, it would give a little bit of a stun, giving you the opportunity to be able to follow up with another attack. But in a lot of cases, that missed. In other cases, if you got like a kill streak, score streak, there's this gauge in the right-hand side of the screen that would fill up over time. And when it hit 100%, you would get this empowered ability to call in some type of battle avatar, what they refer to as an immortal. And depending on which one you chose, just given a set of hotkeys between 1 through 5, you would have a person that rode on the back of a cavalry horse with a lance and had this big flourishing special ability that would kind of stab people in front of him as he rode through. Or you would be able to summon this other lady that controlled ravens and would be able to send them off to attack people as if they were smart arrows. In other cases, they would build up these ultimate abilities, where in the case of the raven lady, for instance, you would be able to hold down left click and just kind of drag across a series of targets and then let it fly, and it would just send out a bunch of heat-seeking missile ravens that would hit people for unspeakable amounts of damage. And all of this has made me wonder, what is this game about? It feels like medieval Star Wars, almost, in a way where you have to overtake and hold different control points depending on the map. There are conquest-esque style of games, and ultimately it came down to, yeah, there's melee combat and you can fire arrows, but there's this whole mystical invocation aspect to it that is supposed to like turn the tides of battle, and it got very confusing, if I'm being honest. The other thing that I felt strangely about is that while the combat felt, I guess, visceral, and the hits felt pretty good, it was very arcadey, and all of the characters seem to be made of clay. And I'm assuming that this is because of a cultural thing. They didn't want to show blood, guts, gore, removal of limbs and whatnot, possibly because of a cultural deal with Asian cultures and death and the dead and censorship. So when you kill somebody in this game, they just kind of fall apart into chunks of clay and lay on the ground as if they were sculptures that were being controlled by other people. And then when you died, you just fell apart into like chunks of rock and dirt, which also left some room for some pretty cool animations for when you get resurrected by a teammate, because when you get brought back to life by a healer, for instance, you can kind of see yourself being reassembled as they're casting this little invocation to bring you back to life, which I thought was kind of interesting. And the other thing that I think I will pick a bone about is the over-the-shoulder camera. All of this is done in over-the-shoulder third person, where I feel like first person would have served this game significantly better, and they chose not to do it, probably just for the arcadey feel of it, and I think that that is a mistake. In my experience, the first-person combat has always been more rewarding in feel, but maybe that's just my own personal preference, and people will probably have a differing opinion on that, and that's fine. All in all, though, this game is being marketed as free-to-play, but make no mistake, this game is 110% every bit of every Asian stereotypical gacha game that you have ever seen. There are different pathways to follow, different tracks, different levels of XP to give into like a cart trail, for instance, that moves across a map and gets to certain waypoints, and then you get an item. They use the word rewards an awful lot in their descriptions. There are 5, I think, different XP progression trees. There are different XP progression trees for being able to wear different coats of armor just to make yourself look a little different. There are 3, I think, forms of currency in this game. Stuff that you can earn for certain types of XP to level up your character. Silver that you earn to be able to spend on your character to level up their skills and abilities. And then there is gold that you get separately that you use in the store. So there are all of the gacha mechanics that you are used to seeing from every Asian released MMO or any other gacha title that has ever been done by a Korean studio in the last 10 years. It looks and feels exactly like all of that. And while the game is free to play, that is always the hook that they try to get in you. In my experience, these games games tend to allow you to get the first handful of levels, maybe get to level 10, maybe level 15 or so, and then everything starts slowing down greatly, and it turns into a massive grind to try and get like the last little bits, if only then to end up further behind because some gacha mechanic ends up gating you, or you get time gated, or any one of those things trying to get a whale to buy in on the idea of I have to become more powerful in Warhaven, and the thing that's setting me back is I'm not dumping a bunch of cash into it. In my opinion, Warhaven kinda sucks. Not in the sense that the gameplay is poor, because it does have some charm to it, and you can really feel like the animations feel good, the frame rates aren't bad, the performance was great, the maps look good, the environmental detail is nice, the model detail is nice. I don't really have any complaints about that kind of stuff. And the combat didn't feel like janky. When I went to block stuff, I'd block stuff. When somebody else blocked me, they would block me. There was different weapon speeds for things like a lance were gotten out faster than I could swing a warhammer. And all of those things felt fine. The stuff that I didn't get, and the reason why I say that the game is kind of sucky, is because of all the other stuff that's going on in the background. If a studio was producing this that didn't have greed at the forefront of the production of the game in a way where they needed to be profitable, and putting this game out there is designed specifically because of how it's constructed, you can see it is being designed to be as profitable as possible, I would probably have less of a problem with this game than I do. This game, as it stands right now, if it were being marketed as something that was $20 and was being developed by an indie studio, would probably be a really, really fun game to play if they got rid of the over-the-shoulder mechanic. But we don't have that. We have this. And as this sits, for me, it's a pass. But of course, this is only my take. Perhaps I'm wrong. I encourage all of you to take a look at it yourselves if you so choose. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for coming and checking me out. Please give me a sub here on the channel if you would be so kind. Please consider following me on my socials at 1pegmg on Twitter, at 1peg on TikTok. And as always, I will be live every single day around 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the exception of today because I have no internet until noon. Thank you so much, Greenlight Networks. You're the best. At twitch.tv/1peg. And I'll see you. All right? Peace.